Wow! Wonderful love and right being. Thank you, lots of love and respect to yourself for clicking this video. May blessings and grace of God overflow in your cup. My friend, here at Happiness Headquarters, we acknowledge God Almighty. And for that, let's read the word from the book of knowledge. My friend, please pass me. Yeah, thank you. AKA the Bible. English people call it the Bible. And our word, this is what it says. Dear friends, let us love one another. For love comes from God. Everyone who loves have been born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. Let's give thanks to God. Dear Lord, thank you very much for the goodness of life. Thank you for this person that has clicked this video, Father. Bless them. Thank you, Lord, even for the forgiveness of all our sins. Be with us and guide us till the end, Father. In Jesus' mighty name, we pray and believe. Amen. Wonderful souls, we are about spreading love, peace, honesty, and forgiveness to all earthlings. As we react to these videos, my friend, have it in the back of your mind that that's our mission. Let's dive in. Good vibes all the way.
Jesus did this, but nobody talks about it, and few Christians practice it. What am I talking about? Boundaries. We have to set boundaries as believers. A lot of the reasons why many believers do not set boundaries is because we look at things like the fruits of the Spirit, kindness, gentleness, patience, and we think that if we set boundaries, we're going against the fruits of the Spirit. But Jesus kept boundaries, and he kept them very well. Jesus set boundaries for the specific purpose of doing his Father's will, and anything outside of the Father's will was shut down swiftly. He specifically set time aside each day to spend time with the Father, no matter what he was doing. He was excellent at discerning the conversations around him and knowing when to shut them down. He always adhered to his Father's will, and when someone said something against his Father's will, he was quick to rebuke it. Jesus didn't force himself on those who did not want to accept him. If someone did not want his help or did not want to receive healing from him, he simply took his hands off and said, okay. Many of us are so focused on being accepted and being heard that we unknowingly are forcing ourselves or our gifts onto other people who are not ready to receive them or that would potentially reject them. All this does is it leads to hurt and rejection in us. He didn't allow his family to interfere with the Lord's call on his life. So many of us can glean from that example. He was truly humble in that he knew who he was and he did not have to prove who he was to anyone. He always made sure that his personal needs were met. And this is the problem, is that some of us tend to swing too far this way or too far that way, and there needs to be a balance. Self-care is important. If you do not take care of yourself, then you cannot take care of others. And finally, he did not tolerate abuse. There was an instance in Luke where they wanted to throw him off of a cliff and kill him, and that was not in the Father's will. And he rejected that, and he got out of that situation. And many of us need to reject abuse when it is brought upon us. We need to remember that it is not selfish or unloving to have boundaries. When you don't have boundaries, it leads to anger, resentment, stress, overload, and burnout.
You still don't think these giant craters have anything to do with the fallen angels, do you? Well, what if I showed you this crater that just happens to be called the doorway to hell and is always on fire and just happens to be one of 200? 200 that just happens to match the exact number of the fallen angels that were banished from heaven and just happens to match the exact number of the amount of countries in the world and just happens to match the exact number of seats in this hidden chamber, in this hidden city of this pyramid. And then I told you the leader of the fallen angels, Lucifer, which just also happens to mean the devil. And then I tell you how an angel came down from the heaven, having the key to the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand, and he laid hold of the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. And if Lucifer, or Satan, was bound, then I'm sure his loyal 200 followers were also bound. And maybe, just maybe, this isn't evidence of the fallen angels coming down to earth, but being released from the bottomless pit. And maybe this pit just happened to be the light bearers that they want to keep lit, because there sure seems to be tribute to this light bearer all over this world we live in. And they put it right in plain sight. All you have to do is be paying attention. Paying attention to this world is not what you think it is. And the ones in charge are not who you think. But you guys, you know I'm just teasing. Of course I believe that these were giant asteroids falling to the earth, creating these giant holes, and, you know, they went just straight down perfectly each time and didn't leave any sort of trail at all. And there's no such thing as the fallen angels. That's all just science fiction and fantasy in the Bible, because the Bible is not real at all. You guys know it's all for entertainment purposes only. This is all satire. Yeah, this is just, you know, some sort of weird earthly anomaly. Yeah, entertainment purposes.
Strange light seen next to Jesus statue in Brazil. Are you seeing that strange light there? This is crazy. So approaching that big statue we see in movies from this side of the world, we only know it from movies, and now there was some light that was approaching it. That is crazy. What could that be meaning or signifying? This is unbelievable stuff. Good people of Earth, what do you think that could have been? Some angel, some star, or what? This is crazy stuff. Why did it just go next to that statue? You see? Could that be a sign or something? Or maybe it was caused by humans. You see? You think about it, my friend, and leave your comments there. Let us know what you would think about it. See that right there? It's moving. This is very weird. Looks like the right there is intelligent. It's not falling straight, maybe like a meteorite or stone.
The average human being has no idea about the world that we live in. Football stadiums are energy harnessing centers. That's why they have opposing colors facing each other to generate energy. We live on a motherboard. We live in an electromagnetic world. We are electromagnetic beings.
Look at this stone here. Very weird stone. What could this have been? Oh my god. And this was found in some other place of the world. Oh, and look at this. Hills. We have seen videos here, different episodes of these hills that look like tree trunks. You see? It's very crazy when you think about them, my friends. You see? What could have happened? Oh, look at that one. That is a hill allegedly. It just occurred naturally. But it's unbelievable. Look at the trees there next to that hill compared to the size. Oh my god. If maybe they were a tree, it could have been one incredibly big tree. Look at this one. Oh, looks like when you cut a tree and leave it for some time there. Oh my god. Imagine if these trees ever existed here. My friend the other day was telling me that people could have been living in those trees back then. If there was a time there was such massive trees, people didn't have to build houses, you see? Maybe they used to live in them. Or what do you think there? You leave your comments about it, you see? Everybody is allowed to have their own opinion, and you can leave yours in the comment section. We might help one another to figure out stuff like this. Giant mushrooms. But this one, according to geography people, is just a stone. And this one also, just stones. But they really look like mushrooms. Some mushrooms that were turned to stone. What could have happened there? Oh my god. Look at these ones. Oh, these ones are extremely big. English people. Let's help one another in thinking this stuff together. What could this have been? My friend, look at these stones here. Stones that look like real life organisms and creatures and stuff. This is unbelievable. These stones, how can you explain the stones reached there on top of those hills? Big circular stones. Caveman could have carried all these stones. Hey, caveman back then could have been a strong man, extremely. Because, oh, look at these ones, they look like mushrooms. These ones, they look like mushrooms. This ones I can say 100%. This one look like trees. Look at this. Oh, man. If this could just have been the track, imagine the size of the tree. Where could it have reached?
Yeah, bro, the little people. The people call them different things up and down all over. The people eaters, little demons, the demon folk. You know, maybe like similar to a brownie or a fairy, but in North America, I guess. Anyways, they found a mummy of one. I'll post some links or some pictures and stuff. You can do some research, but yeah. The little people. I know where they're like right around the corner. We don't mess around. We don't go out at night, but you know, nobody's found them because nobody's looking for them. But there's a cliff. There's like a sacrifice cliff for them. There's some shady stuff, some places. There's some weird, like if you guys really, really want me to, I'll go creep over there and do a video of that place because it is creepy. But yeah, the little people, man, not to be messed with.
This video right here, I'm making it for black people. That's right, black people. You know how y'all black people look at us and say, damn, why is Chico driving that badass truck? Why is Amigo having that badass car? You know how that is? We stick together. Us Hispanics, we work together. We help each other out. As a Hispanic, you know what I have seen with black people? You guys are always trying to compete against each other. Who's got the better car? Who's got the better truck? Who's got the better bitch? Always comparing each other's shit. Always trying to fight each other. Always trying to put each other down. Y'all need to work together, like us Hispanics do. That's the difference between Hispanics and black people. That's why a Hispanic starts a business. Most of the time, he's successful because he's not doing it all by himself. He's got help. We work together. Y'all black people need to do that. Stick together. Help each other out. Stop the fucking competing. That's not helping. Peace.
Look at this. Other strange stuff were recorded in other places. Good people of Earth, are you seeing this stuff? What's that? Ooh.
Obviously, Terence Howard, he's had an awakening of some sort. So hats off to the brother for that. Because, first of all, it takes a lot of courage to even come out in such a mass setting like that on a big stage on your own platform and then say, hey, this is why I'm doing this and this is why I'm stepping back. I think he made even a reference to the fact that, you know, why am I going to perform on stage for tips when I could be tapping into this unlimited source of energy, you know, so to speak, is what he was really trying to say. And he dropped a lot of information in a very short period of time and may not have been able to exactly articulate specifically what everything he said meant.
I've made some discoveries in my own personal life with the science that, you know, Pythagoras was searching for. I was able to open up the flower of life properly and find the real wave conjugations that we've been looking for 10,000 years. Why would I continue, you know, walking on water for tips when I've got an entire generation to teach a whole new world? Well, let me put it this way. All energy in the universe is expressed in motion. All motion is expressed in waves. All waves are curved. So where does the straight lines come from to make the platonic solids? There are no straight lines. So when I took the flower of life and opened it properly, I found a whole new wave conjugations that expose the in-between spaces. It's the thing that holds us all together.
Wondering how the universe really came to be. And I fell in love with this thing called the flower of life. You guys know Da Vinci? Do you know what he spent most of his life trying to figure out? I want you guys to know about a 6,000-year-old secret. 6,000 years, mankind has been trying to decipher this one little thing called the flower of life. Now, you know this is one of the oldest symbols in human history, right? This symbol was found in the Temple of Osiris in Egypt, and it had been...
Is modern man smart and ancient man stupid? You know, was he stupid or was ancient man really smart? There's a good book called The Puzzle of Ancient Man by Don Chittick. Excellent book. I believe they've had a hard time keeping it in print. We sell a lot of them, I know. It's really, really good. Going through all kinds of interesting artifacts that are found about humans, but made by humans, amazing machines and stuff that would have to be really, really old. Well, the Bible teaches before the flood came, the people lived to be 900 years old. Adam came pre-programmed straight from the hand of God. He could walk, talk, name the animals, and get married first day. He probably knew incredible amounts of information that was pre-programmed in, or after spending 100 years walking and talking with God, he just knew a lot of stuff that God told him. God would say, Adam, you see this tree right here? Watch this. You pull off the bark, scrape the inside, and chew on that. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's got vitamins. You need that, Adam. Probably a lot of the ancient medicines, you know, that cultures have are remnants of things left over from knowledge passed down by the ancients. Like, how did the first guy know you can take a willow tree and scrape the bark off and make vitamin C out of the tea? I mean, how did they know that? Who's the first guy to start chewing on a tree? I mean, you got to wonder. Somebody must have told them. So, if they're living 900 years and having huge families and learning an incredible amount, I don't know how far advanced they got before the flood came, but I suspect possibly even more advanced than we are today. And some people say, well, why don't we dig up their cities? Well, the problem is we're looking at what things that we need today and assuming that they needed them before the flood. Suppose they lived in a world with perfect weather. You don't need a house. Just go sleep on the grass. Suppose you lived in a world where none of the animals would harm you. All the animals were friendly. Everything's vegetarian, Genesis 1:29. Again, you don't need a house. And why don't we find their cars? Well, man, if you're 9 or 10 or 12 feet tall and can run 50 miles an hour, and everything's growing in your yard, you don't need to go anywhere anyway. Why do you need a highway system? Why do you need a car? You don't need airplanes. You don't need trains. So if you can think Garden of Eden conditions, the things that they needed would not be the same things that we need. After the flood, the people were still living to be 400 years old. So a lot of this knowledge would be retained. Now today, you know, about the time you know everything, you're 80 years old and you die. Now you can't pass it on to anybody else. But if you could live to be 400 or 500, you could pass on your knowledge to your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchild. So it'd just be a real, real different world back then. So a lot of this knowledge, I think, went to the grave. But in the old days, you could go talk to your great-great-great-great-grandfather and get advice. And he'd give you some really cool advice on how to do certain things. Many civilizations after the flood would arise very quickly. If you got a bunch of smart people, Noah's sons, having, you know, 15, 20 kids per family or whatever, and they're going to go off to this area and they're going to build their own civilization. Well, it wouldn't take them long as they've got high IQ. They might not have all the technology. They might have to make stone tools at first, you know, until they can dig a hole to find the iron to melt it down to make the steel tools. They would know how to do it. It's kind of a Gilligan's Island situation. But within 50 years, you could build a civilization. You look at Robinson Crusoe, you know, lands on an island. So after 20 years, he's got a whole, got a farm, got a house, got a fort, did it all himself, you know. So yeah, it doesn't, especially you get smart people in situations like that, you can build a civilization in a hurry. It's interesting, if you study history, all of the ancient civilizations, the Babylonians, the Sumerians, the Greeks, they all, or the Chinese, they just arose out of nowhere. Poof, there's a civilization. There's no evidence of this stuff they teach in school, of them going from hunters and gatherers and grunts and groans, you know, caveman stuff, becoming civilized and building cities. There's no evidence of that. It's, the farther back you go, it's all of a sudden, poof, there's the beginning of the Egyptian civilization, the beginning of the Chinese civilization, just like they moved in and built it in less than 100 years. So some strange things have been found in the fossils, as in the ground, that would indicate man used to be really smart. This little airplane, for instance, is in the Smithsonian, I believe. Right, yeah, in Smithsonian. It was found in a grave in Colombia. It's about 1,000 years old. But it's an airplane, quite obviously, with all the features of an airplane. But it can't be an airplane, according to the evolutionist, so therefore they have it labelized in the Smithsonian as a stylized insect. Now tell me, does that look like a stylized insect to you? See, they can't admit that ancient man knew about airplanes because that would go against the theory. The theory says modern man is smart, ancient man was stupid, he was, a chimpanzee walking on four most of the time, slowly came up, and here we are today, the gods of the universe. That's the thinking in their mind. Actually, the evidence shows the opposite of that. Here's an airplane, again, found in an Egyptian tomb this time, 2,100 years old, pre-Christ. How did they know about airplanes? A little model airplane. They knew about flight. This iron pot, we've got a model of it here, was found inside a lump of coal. This is a replica. You can get a replica from Carl Baugh. They're breaking open a lump of coal, and there's an iron pot inside. They examine the coal that comes out, and it's molded right to the pot on both sides. I mean, the coal formed around the iron pot. What would you conclude? That a coal miner dropped it? No, because then the coal won't be conformed to the pot. I would conclude that they had iron and were making iron vessels before the flood. During the flood, they got buried in a forest of trees and squished and turned to coal, and of course it's not going to affect the iron any. How do you get an iron pot in a lump of coal? Ancient man must have been smart, not primitive. In Peru, they've got giant stone walls like the one in the picture here. These stone walls are phenomenal. Some of the rocks in there are so huge, we can't even move them today. There's more in the Puzzle of Ancient Man about that topic if you want to read more, but there's one of the stones down in Peru weighs 20,000 tons. Now, to give you an idea how big that is, the largest crane on Earth today can lift 3,000 tons. I think they just built one in Japan, if I recall, for unloading ships. I just heard about it in 2003 or 4, that can lift 6,000 tons. There's something like that. That may be the new, somebody's going to say, oh, Hovind, you're wrong. It's more, 3,000 is wrong. You're lying. I'm not lying. I just don't know. I think it's 6,000 tons now, okay? But still, you've got stones up here that weigh 20,000 tons. How did they move that? Who did it and how did they do it? I don't think it's logical to say ancient man was primitive. They must have known something we don't know today. Like this guy said, what is truly impossible about the block is that it's the size of a 5-story house and weighs 20,000 tons. We have no combination of machinery today that could dislodge such a weight, let alone move it. We can't even break it loose from the ground, let alone move it. We can't do it. This bell was found inside a lump of coal in West Virginia. The guy who had it on his desk for years later moved to Central Florida, and I've not been able to, he's an old man now, I've not been able to get a hold of him lately, so if you get his address, let me know. Because I think he needs to have that on display at a creation museum in Pensacola, Florida. That's what I think. This thing was analyzed, and they said, this is some kind of strange, old, like a Buddhist-type god on top of here. But how could you find a brass bell inside coal? Ancient man knew how to work with all the metals. Bible says Tubal-Cain was an artificer in brass and iron. That's Adam's grandson. They were already working with brass and iron. This is a little zinc and silver vessel, was found inside rock, supposed to be 600 million years old. Well, I disagree with the 600 million year part, but they knew about things. There's a great article in the Puzzle of Ancient Man about the little device found in a ship that was sunk in 100 BC in the Aegean Sea, which is right next to Greece. Okay? It's got an analog computer on board. How on earth did they know about analog computers in 100 BC? It's called the Antikythera device, Antikythera mechanism. The History Channel in March of 2005 was amazing. It had a whole hour-long message about this Antikythera device found in Greece. They actually built a working model of it and said this thing, by turning the crank, would be able to predict where the planets would be or the sun would be. It'd be like an amazing computer for ships navigating. 100 BC. No, ancient man was not primitive. You can get copies of this hammer from our museum. This Dr. Baugh has the original in his museum. He lets us make replicas of it. This was found in 1934.
We are all just one great being. Yeah. You know, that's what they forget. We're not separate. We're all, the universe is probably one cell inside of some super organism. Right. And we're just little who, you know, little who's like Horton hears a who and trying to make sense of it. Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing that we're making sense of it. But everything is just one great being. We're all God. That's what Jesus was talking about. That's what Buddha was talking about. It's recognizing the divinity in you. What I did as a child, I said, I'm going to, instead of waiting for the Messiah to show up, what if everybody picked up their torture stake and behaved and did the things that they had expected the Messiah to do? What if everybody just for one day walked around and behaved as if they were God himself and did the things that they would expect the creator? And we know God can't just be a male, because no man can produce a child without a female. Everything in the universe, as above, so below, like Billy Carson always talks about. You can't, everything has an equal and opposite. It has to mate. Mating is a big part of what we do.
So I did some research. International Space Station program is part of the simulator. Actually, they're a huge part of it. All right. So is the Parker Probe 1 and 2 and 3. This is what the Parker Probe looks like up there in the stratosphere, looking like the sun with all those attachments, right? That's the old school Parker Probe. Here's the James Webb, showing how the James Webb worked, mimicking the sun, just like that right here. Now, pay attention to this video. Look at that cloud that's attached to that sun in that square. Looks like there's a ship up there that we can't see. And I mean, I'm pretty sure they have cloaking device. If we can't see them and they're up there, they have cloaking device, or they're really good at hiding. And that is the lens system, y'all, that you just saw, that James Webb telescope. It's inside of it, that little globe. And here's the sun. Crazy. Inside a little bubble as well. Now here's the time lapse. It's going to show you guys ISIS, and it's huge. On the right side, pay attention to the right side, you're going to see a mechanic arm come and grab the sun that looks like it's wigging out right now. Grabs it and it pulls it up, right? Super fast. But I have it in slow motion, but it pulled it up pretty damn fast. And it did the same thing with the moon, which you're about to see pretty soon. So I highly believe, especially reading the patents and going through NASA's fucking website trying to get answers. And man, let you know, y'all, if you guys want to get some information, I would rather you guys go check it out in NASA, because I don't think NASA expects us to go to their website and look for the answers. They think we're going to go Google it, which we do. And sometimes those Google images or patents are not highly, 100% correct. But NASA is. They really do talk about this sun simulator. It's in there. And they also have the flat Earth model. You might want to check that out. Anyways, here's the moon. You're going to see ISIS come up, grab it, and bring it up in the stratosphere. Right? I still trying to learn what that beam is that's attached to the moon and the sun. You see that like lightsaber beam that's like looks like it just stabbed the moon? Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out. There's no patterns in it. I don't want to guess. I want to continue to research. But here's some pictures of the sun, ISIS, more of the sun. But anyways, let me know in the comments below if you guys agree with me, if you think it's the ISIS as well. You like my artwork? But anyways, yeah, let me know if you think it's someone else. If you think it's something else, shit, let me know in the comments below. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll do more. I'm going to be talking about, next video will be the moon. It's a projector. The moon's a simulator as well. I feel like the sky is fake. All right, the sky is fake, I think, and I hate to say it, but we'll find out. All right, maybe you guys can help me do some research, like try to figure this shit out, and fucking let's do something, like take these dudes down. Let's get our Earth back, get our sun back.
Jesus is the rock and the cornerstone, and upon this rock he will build his church. Deuteronomy 32:4. The rock, his work is perfect, for all his ways are justice. A God of faithfulness and without iniquity, just and upright is he. Now with Moses, water flowed from the rock. With Gideon, a consuming fire came up from the rock. Isaiah mentions there's a stumbling stone of offense. David sought refuge in the rock fortress. David also talks about the rock of salvation. David also mentions the rejected temple cornerstone. Now these are all the Old Testament mentions here, but we see it also in the New Testament that Jesus is the living water. Jesus is our refuge. Jesus is the stone of offense. Jesus is also the rejected cornerstone. Jesus came to bring fire up from the rock, and Jesus is our salvation, the rock of salvation. Jesus says in Matthew 7 verse 24, "Therefore everyone who hears these words of mine and acts on them will be like a wise man who built his house upon the rock," which is Jesus. "And the rain fell and the floods came, and the winds blew and slammed against that house, and yet it did not fall, for it had been founded on Jesus, the rock." Joshua 24:15, "Choose for yourselves today whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served, which were beyond the Euphrates River, or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you are living. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." Peter made a statement at Caesarea Philippi on Mount Hermon that Jesus is the Christ and the Son of God. This statement of truth would begin the foundation of the church, and upon this statement, this rock, and Jesus himself, who is the rock, the gates of hell will not prevail. And when Peter said this, Jesus said, "And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock," that statement, "I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." This was also the first mention of the word church in the Bible. Jesus is the rock on which we stand and take our refuge and build the church upon.